Welcome, dear viewers. Welcome, dear viewers. This is Humans TV Africa. This is Humans TV Africa. My name is Kato Mukasa. The host for today is Mr. Mambu Emmanuel, and this is his birthday. So Dennis said I should sing for Mambu a birthday song, and he didn't know that actually I don't know how to sing. My voice is the worst, but I should say happy birthday to Mambu, the new kid on the block. Happy birthday to you, sir. And of course, you know, I cannot sing happy birthday to you and all that kind of thing. But of course, we wish you the best in your newfound year. And today, it's your show. I'm just introducing African TV, Humans TV Africa, which is a TV connecting Africa to the world. And I want to encourage you, our viewers, to please subscribe to Humans TV Africa. And our Facebook page is Humans TV Africa. Please subscribe, share, follow, like, and comment. This is Humans TV Africa, and the show is hosted by Mambu. I'm on a gate crashing today. And of course, the visitor is there, Kamara from Sierra Leone. Mambu, it's your show. I'm just a visitor here. Back to you now.
All right. Thank you, viewers. Viewers all over the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your location. This is Humanist TV Africa. Of course, like Kato said, today is my birthday. I wish myself all the best. I wish myself all the best. Today we are here again on the topic prevalence of acute hunger and malnutrition in Sierra Leone. And we are joined by our guest from Sierra Leone, Mr. Abdulai Kamara. Mr. Abdulai, can you please introduce yourself?
We can't hear you. We can't hear you at all.
Oh, okay.
Now we can hear you.
Sorry, my mic was muted.
Yeah.
Good afternoon from Sierra Leone. My name is Abdulai Kamara, as Mambu rightly said, and Mambu is a celebrant. Wish you a fruitful birthday. Good afternoon to you all.
Thank you. We have our brother, and he's our director. He's our senior comrade. Kato, can you say anything about yourself?
Thank you so much, sir. My name is Kato Mukasa. People call me Keto as if I'm an animal. They call me whatever they want, but my name is Kato, K-A-T-O. You can call me animal, Keto, the tin to cook tea, whatever you call me, I accept. My name is Kato Mukasa. I'm a Ugandan. I'm a human lawyer and a human rights advocate lawyer interested in issues human rights. And I'm here to discuss with you issues to do with Sierra Leone and issues to do with hunger. I'm happy to have Mr. Kamara again on set. Welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure, Kato. Thank you so much for having me again on the program, and I wish to also be with you here again.
Yes, we are happy actually to host. To get Mr. Kamara again as a guest in the studio. Mr. Kamara is doing an excellent job in Sierra Leone, fighting hunger, malnutrition, and actually trying to see how food security should be promoted in our country. And again, like I said, today we have a topic, the prevalence of acute hunger and malnutrition in Sierra Leone. Mr. Kamara, can you please tell us briefly about your organization?
Yes, thank you very much. And as I said again, let me just register.
We are losing you, Mr. Kamara, I think because of network. Please, when you don't hear yourself, you just know you are off. But we are going to be talking about prevalence of acute hunger and malnutrition in Sierra Leone. We are talking about issues to do with hunger and malnutrition in Sierra Leone. Of course, you have network issues, as many of you may know. Please, you are back. Network was scrambled.
Sorry, the light just went off and I had to use my data. So, as I mentioned, malnutrition and acute hunger, these are key prevalence in Sierra Leone, and most of these ones are being spotted in some of the reports that are coming out from WFP, reports coming out from FAO, also reports coming out from the Food and Nutrition and Security Office. That is the scaling up nutrition. It is the national body that's been mandated to handle nutrition issues. But my name is Abdulai Kamara, and I'm the Executive Director for the Center for Disaster Risk Management and Sustainable Development. And CDR is the acronym. This is our organization, a CBO that is being situated in Sierra Leone, to a specific Makeni, mainly to look at the nexus between disaster and that of sustainable development. So before we go to the topic proper, it will be fine for the audience and also you, the host, there, to know who is Abdulai and definitely what the organization is doing. So I give you a brief background about risk and also about climate issue that definitely precipitated the establishment of this organization. And of course, Sierra Leone is prone to climate-related disasters like fires, water shortages, especially during the dries, and most especially after second farming, we experience water shortages, and also flash flood, seasonal flood, and also mudslide. So all of these things compound together definitely put Sierra Leone in very high risk. So in as much as we want our development to happen, which is also our trump card, but in the framework of sustainable development, disaster risk reduction definitely is an issue that's got across all sectors. It presupposes that when you want to develop, you have to be ensure that you provide room for disaster risk reduction. It goes across to education, it goes across to agricultural sector, it goes across to mining sector, to each and every sector to ensure that there is room for disaster risk reduction. So this is the nexus or the gap which the Center for Disaster Risk Reduction and Sustainable Development is coming in to bridge to ensure that there is a nexus between development and that of disaster. Because in as much as sometimes we're trying to do our development, but development sometimes can induce disaster. And definitely disaster now can lead to development. So this is what this organization is trying to look at. But our focus area mainly is also in four folds. Specifically, we are human-centric, people-centric, to ensure that we do advocacy on the environment. And on the environment specifically, what does CDRMSD do? One, it looks at disaster risk reduction. Those disaster risk reduction initiatives like drainage cleaning, awareness raising, vulnerability capacity assessment, all of those ones we do. And also we do a lot of advocacy on climate change and climate justice. If, for instance, a particular company has done a lot of disadvantage or injustice to the environment, then we can make sure that to raise people awareness to ensure that they claim climate justice for the environment. And also the Center for Disaster Risk Reduction and Sustainable Development also do advocacy on the rights to food, to ensure that people are aware about how they could promote their food, how they could actualize the right to adequate food. Also, our focus area also is the livelihood support and skills training. You know, in society, we have a divergence of people. Some definitely can go to school, some can go to skills training center. So also the organization can cater for a avalanche of people to make sure that they can be catered for in society. Also in peace and conflict, in terms of conflict resolution, also to ensure that there is peaceful coexistence, it is also the mandate of CBR and SD to ensure that, you know, people live in a peaceful environment in a tranquil society. Also, apart from that, also in a situation of public health emergency, we also do a lot of awareness raising. For instance, in World Environment Day, June 5, we are able to partner with the Environment Protection Agency, EPA, to look at the global theme, big air pollution. So we do a lot of picking up of plastics around with my volunteers, also to ensure that we clean up the environment in partnership with the council to do away with those debt. Also, we do a lot of advocacy where there are hanging boulder. We do advocacy to ensure that people could not go and put houses in those environments. Water catchment area, also we make a lot of advocacy and noise around that people do not go there. And also again, conflict resolution during the election that just ended, we also supported in terms of electoral observation. We give out some volunteers to big organizations, they train them and they also conduct those work. Yeah. So in a nutshell, these are the things our organization is doing for people to have a better background of what we are doing. Yeah. So coming to the topic proper, this is what we are doing, Mambu. I can pause here for now.
Actually, you are doing a great job in Sierra Leone. You are actually doing a great job, and I mean, you are the people we are actually looking for in our society. The ideas, what you want to do, what you want to see, and you know, you want to see change in all these sectors, which to me is a plus. And if this is what our African governments are actually actively involving, and then we have nothing to cry about in Africa. But hell no, they are busy. They want to steal everything and then go to overseas and enjoy themselves. Now, um, like I said, the topic prevalence of acute hunger and malnutrition. Mr. Kamara, looking at the 2023 Global Hunger Index, can you tell us about the hunger situation in Sierra Leone?
Yes, as the topic dictates, acute hunger, prevalence, and malnutrition, two operational terms here, hunger and malnutrition. For the hunger, as you rightly mentioned, we have the global scorecard that we normally use to measure it. We have the Global Hunger Index of 2022 and also 2023. I can go a step backward to also mention 2023. So for the 2023, it reveals that Sierra Leone was ranked 112 out of 121 countries. And the grade we score there is 31.5, which also presupposes that the hunger level is very serious in Sierra Leone, that is for 2022. Okay, so coming to 2022, 2023, it shows that we are also ranked now 116 out of 125 countries with a scorecard of 31.3. As opposed to last year, it was 31.5. But again, the description given to us is like the hunger level is also serious. So if I could draw a nexus between the two indices, that is 2022 and 2023, it tells that Sierra Leone has not made any significant progress over the year, Mambu. Because 112 to 121 is just 9 steps in between. 116 to 125 also predominantly is also 9 steps in between. So it means that the hunger level has got a stagnated position over the year. So much hasn't been done over the year 2022 to 2023 to alleviate the hunger issue in Sierra Leone. So it is really serious, and definitely it rings the alarm bell for people to come on board to see how best to support the government, support CSOs like what we are doing to make sure that we are able to jump out of this kind of quagmire. So honestly, if you look at the global indices, both 2022 and 2023, it is telling us that as a government, as individuals, as CSO. Yes, we might have done our little bit, but honestly, it shows that more definitely, more and more work needs to be done.
Okay. Before I ask my senior comrade Katu, I will want to ask you one more question before senior Katu will ask you anything. Now, Mr. Kamara, I know there are efforts from NGOs and yes, there are efforts from international community and you NGOs or like what you are doing. Please explain some of the causes of hunger prevalence in Sierra Leone, despite some of these efforts.
Well, we have a very good tool being used in Sierra Leone by the World Food Program. They are using the Sierra Leone Market Prices Bulletin, and it's a reliable tool because it is being conducted by the partners and as well as the Ministry of Agriculture. That is the Market Prices Bulletin, and they produce this on a quarterly basis. Quite recently, they just produced their July, August, and September quarterly bulletin prices report or bulletin. So it's a food security monitoring survey that is being done by WFP and as well as the Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah. So it looks at a variety of parameters to ensure that, whatever they come out is being done in this way or that way. For instance, before you look at the causes, the survey looks at the economic outlook. As you can see, the survey looks at the economic outlook. And it also looks at the prices, the change of price in the market, and also it looks at the wage of unskilled workers in the country amidst the local food and staple food commodities. Yeah. So if you look at all of these parameters, these are, evidence-based research that is being conducted by WFP with partners to ensure that, they bring out a lot of reasons or causes that are responsible for food insecurity or hunger in the country. So one of the causes they talk about is the economic outlook. If you look at the economic outlook as you have it here on the screen, it talks about inflation. So according to the report of the bulletin, the inflation rate is so such that, it's very high and very scary. And in fact, one of the highest inflationary rates in Africa. As you can see, by July, the inflation rate increased by 60%, from 60% to 62%. So these are one of the main causes of acute hunger in Sierra Leone, because local food commodities are quite expensive because of inflation. It's difficult for people to see how best they can survive, especially for local food commodities. Yeah. And also again, because of heavy reliance on import, because Sierra Leone is not exporting much, then definitely we just rely on importing or imported food. And once that one happens, definitely, government definitely also has to impose a lot of tax. So another cause again is food commodity prices, especially locally made food, local food commodities. Yeah. So here, local and imported rice, for instance, had to increase by 48% and 41% respectively. This underscores the fact that for local rice, it was increased by 40.8%. I think that's a significant amount, quite a gigantic amount, percentage for that matter. Also for the imported rice, definitely has to increase about 41%. Of course, again, this is also quite a huge percentage for increase. And also the food commodity price of Tonkan also shows that 80% of Sierra Leone are unable to afford healthy diet. Not only food, but they are unable to afford or provide healthy diet. I think this is where the catch is. If somebody is to be highly nutritious, definitely the person has to be able to afford and eat healthy diet, which has all nutrient values on food values. So if 80% of Sierra Leoneans definitely are unable to provide themselves a healthy diet, then definitely there is definitely all need and without any doubt for the acute hunger to be prevalent. So the third point again from this market bulletin is the purchasing power of unskilled wage workers. These are people who do not have a kind of, formal or kind of formal employment. These are normal hawkers, they could be truck pushers, they could be, again, people with just small skill. But yet they do not have the purchasing power to ensure that they have 3 meals per day. Sometimes, again, if even they have the 3 meals per day, yet they do not eat balanced diet. So all of these things definitely compound the acute hunger in the country. Because what they earn, their wage, is quite low to commensurate or measure up to what they could afford towards you, and also I can determine or call a balanced meal. So this is the third reason of course, yeah. But also, Mambu, again, I'm also noticing a new trend. This one is not in the report, but my organization, the Center for Disaster Risk Management and Sustainable Development, has also perceived this one as a major reason for hunger in the country and also some parts in the community. That is the detention of breadwinners. If we have a lot of people who are breadwinners, who are the head of the family, if they are behind bars, if they are being detained, then there is nobody or no one here to provide for the family at home. So it becomes quite serious and it becomes a concern. So here, a breadwinner could be a father, it could be a mother, it could be a single parent, it could be a sister, it could be also a brother. So once this person is being incarcerated, or the person is behind bar, or the person is in detention waiting for prosecution, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's very scary. Say for instance, if the person has like 10 dependents, children going to school, siblings are always the person, and this person is the one bringing food to the table, and this person now is behind bar, is in prison or in correctional center. So if that person stays there for 1 week, it means the whole will go 1 week without food. It also has some other social tenets. It also means that the children cannot go to school for 1 week because the father is not there to provide lunch, is not there to provide food at home. What also happened to the siblings? It means again the siblings can take to prostitution because that person or the head of the father or family is in detention or is also in prison, so they cannot definitely afford for themselves. So also this also is a serious concern. Definitely the Center for Disaster Risk Management has been looking around this area, but we are yet to do any work in this area. But definitely also this is a major cause. So if I can say these are the main or some of the causes that are definitely responsible for acute hunger and malnutrition in the country.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. You see, your last topic about inmates being behind bars and families back home suffering because of the breadwinner is behind bars. This is actually a very, very serious situation. Like the last time I was in Sierra Leone, that was actually a great issue that we had, and actually there is no one to actually work on these things. So if your organization is actually looking at it and wants to address it, looking for a way or finding a way how they will be, they could have a support to work on these things, and then it's a plus to your organization. And then now to my senior comrade Kato.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kamara. It's always nice having you here because you bring life here in the studio. And when you talk about agriculture, I'm a farmer, but a small farm, of course. I have not big land. I'm a very small farmer, but I love farming and I love issues to do with agriculture. Now, there's something which is so intriguing. You have said so many good things about the work you do, but it reminds me of my history. When I was studying history of the Creoles, the year was 1996. I was studying about the Creoles in a secondary school. I was studying about Sierra Leone. I studied African history. That's why I think I know much about Africa. I was told that the year was 1787. The year was 1787. and Freetown was founded. 1787. Freetown of Sierra Leone is founded. And why is it founded or founded? It's a place to bring the former slaves from the US. It's a new world. It's a place to give them freedom. So when I was studying African history, and I remember that year 1787, I remember Sierra Leone, I remember Liberia. These are countries for free people. Free people. People said, to hell with the United States. There was corruption in the US, there was racism, there was forced labor, there was no peace. These Africans said, we must go back home. And partly they end up in Sierra Leone, a land for free people, Freetown, 1787. Today, why do I bring that? Yeah, because you guys, your town is Freetown. You are supposed to be free. But what does the statistics show? When I was looking at the Global Hunger Index, Sierra Leone, out of the 125 countries, Sierra Leone was ranking 116. Now, if I have a child in school and there is a class of 125 people, and my child gets the position of 116 among the failures, my child must be doing bad. Now, Sierra Leone is a failure when it comes to food. Number two, which was also very intriguing from the 2023 Global Index, is that it ranks Sierra Leone in such a worse position. It told us that you import almost everything, food, including rice, which is the main food. Now, number three, which I noted in that Global Index statistics, was that 80%, as we have said, of the people in Sierra Leone are facing hunger. It is very dangerous. 80% of the people in the country, it's too much to face hunger. And sadly, the stat again shows that 1 in every 5 households, 1 household goes without a meal a day. In every 5 homes you count in Sierra Leone. This is sad. 1 home goes without food a day. Then the stat I'm giving you are coming from my head, not from Mr. Kamara's statistics. So look at me. The stat I'm giving are coming from my head because I read them and understood them. Now, they are saying that in every 5 families you see in Sierra Leone, 1 family goes without food. And they put 20% of those families goes without food. Now, this is terrible because such hunger can kill someone. They were saying that the number of children under malnutrition is increasing in Sierra Leone. Now, that is again too dangerous for a country because young people are the backbone of a country. The brains are formed before a child is, I think, 5 years. Scientists are going to tell us that the brain is formed before a child is 5 years. Now, if a child is not feeding well, we are going to have people who are affected mentally here because the brain didn't have enough food, enough nutrients. Now, this is not the Africa we want. That's why I began with the year 1787, the country of free people. A country of free people. Why are we saying this? They were saying in the report, I was reading a bit of Africa, and the idea is that Sierra Leone is not alone, by the way. You are not alone. Now, in the Horn of Africa, Somalia, Kenya, Sudan, South Sudan, those countries I've mentioned, leave alone Sierra Leone now, form 70% of the most hungry people in Africa. In the world, not Africa. In the world, I'm repeating it. The countries in the whole of Africa form, when you see global hunger, how many people are hungry in the world? The whole of Africa, leave Sierra Leone alone now, forms 70% of global hunger. Kenya, which is my neighbor in Uganda, Somalia, Somalia, of course, they're talking about Kenya, Somalia, Sudan, the 2 Sudanis. They form that kind of country. Now, they are adding Burundi among global worst hit countries, Burundi, Sudan, they're adding DRC. Look, these countries I've mentioned, about 6 countries, form the most hungry countries in the world. Look at Kenya. It's embarrassing that the president of Kenya can go and do farming in DRC. This man called Ruto can go and do farming in DRC, cassava, maize, and all that, and export them wherever he wants. But this country lacks food. Now, Mr. Kamara, this is just a comment, not even a question. The problem of hunger is not only for Sierra Leone. That's why I've brought other countries in the picture to broaden the discussion a bit, but it shall go back again. So look, Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, Somalia, Burundi, DRC form the worst hit countries in the world. In fact, when they have mentioned the worst hit countries, they only bring Yemen outside Africa as the worst hit. Now, I always wonder, we Africans, we people who are blessed with the best soils in the world, we are relying, when I was reading the report, they were saying that, you see, why hunger today? Because rain is unpredictable. You can imagine, that's the reason. Rain is unpredictable. Number 2, there is a war in Ukraine. How stupid can that be a reason? That the war, thousands of miles away from Africa, has caused hunger in some African countries. Why? Because Ukraine was giving African countries fertilizers. You know, I was reading the report and I was like, what's wrong with us? I always ask that question. Someone is under a war, a very hopeless war. I call it a tribal war in Ukraine. And the war there is affecting us in Africa because Ukraine is supposed to give us fertilizers. You know, Mr. Kamara, you're old enough to know what I know in the 80s. Me, I grew up in the 80s and 70s. I can tell you, you are a man who knows these things. I never saw my grandparents using fertilizers. Never. The way they are, that we are importing them from wherever it is. I can tell you, I grew up among cattle farmers. My family is partly cattle farmers, partly farmers. I'm a cattle keepers, partly farmers. We could get, they call it cow dung. You know these things better than I do. If you have cows in your country, which I don't have, you could get cow dung. You could get ash from the kitchen after cooking that ash. Then you could get urine. Urine. I want people to understand these things. Me, I'm not a scientist that much, but I grew up seeing my grandfathers scientifically aware. My grandfather would go to a factory where he was a director and get coffee husks. Coffee husks. After shelling coffee, the byproduct called husks. Now they get cow urine, they get animal, human urine, they mix it with ash from the kitchen, they get cow dung, then they get husks. We used to have the best food plantation, banana plantations in the region, because our food was always treated organically. Urine from individuals was not wasted. Urine from cows was medicinal. The ash and then the husks would mulch, would cover the gardens. Now, if my grandfathers were so intelligent to know I don't need Ukraine to do farming, but I can use local fertilizers. I can use urine to treat my plants. I can use coffee husks to cover my ground. I can use, you see, bananas. For us, I come from a country where we have bananas. When you cut a banana, my grandfather would ensure that we peel that banana stem and then you lay it down on the ground. I'm telling you, I'm a farmer. I grew up seeing farming. That in my years of growing, 1970s when I was born, 80s and 90s, we never suffered hunger, at least in my home. We always had plenty of food to sell. I can tell you, my grandfather had over 30, they call them what? Grandchildren. 30 would come in the holiday. You can imagine feeding about 30 grandchildren, and everyone eats enough food, and you can throw away some food. The land is big, the food is much. Why? We are using urine, we are using cow dung, We are using our natural fertilizers. We are using husks. You know, so I asked myself, as a man who grew up seeing my grandparents doing farming, what went wrong with us people in Africa? How lazy are we that we must rely on a country under war to give us the so-called fertilizers? When I grew up seeing us not relying in an industry called fertilizers, but today, someone tells me, oh, I'm a scientist, you see, you have all these things, you must get fertilizers. Come on. We are growing these very same things without these things. An industry has come, an industry is telling us to survive, we must have these things. You know, Mr. Kamara, as I conclude, you are an expert in this area. I think experts must help our people, our peasants, to rethink. Mr. Kamara, the cost of producing 1 acre of coffee today, the cost of producing 1 acre of tomatoes today, the cost of producing 1 acre of cabbages today is 10 times the cost of producing the same 10 years ago. Now, it means that a farmer is getting less profits. And what do we do in economics? Once your profits are cut, you are going to increase the cost. It hits the buyer. Because me, as a farmer, once my tomatoes are expensive to farm, I'm going to increase the price. It means that the man you talked about, who doesn't have a wage increase, is going to have an impact in his pocket, because 1 tomato is costing about, say, $250. This year, as I conclude, something terrible happened in my country. Ginger we put on tea was over in my country, Uganda. Tomatoes were not there. Onions were not there. I was surprised when someone told me from home in Uganda that an onion, 1 onion, was costing 1,000 Uganda shilling. Now, 1,000 Uganda shilling is like a quarter dollar. 1 onion. You see? Now, this is the stupidity I talk about. That because we have forgotten the basics of farming. Me, I grew up depending on agriculture. Yet Africa, our niche, our cutting edge, our competitive advantage is in agriculture. But now we have given up. We want to use fertilizers bought from West. We want to use tractors, which are good, but we don't have them. We want to copy everything elsewhere to put it in Africa. And we are claiming there's no rain. My friend, I used to see my people in my village watering their crops. I used to see my people in village having ditches. You know, you dig a ditch. When the rain comes, it traps water. I'm telling things which are practical. It traps water. This water remains there, and you use it during a dry season, because I grew up among cattle farmers, my brother. So my people, the cattle keepers, the gardening farmers, my people I grew up with were practical people. The question I ask myself today is, what's wrong with us? Number 2, I ask you, Mr. Kamara, having said all that, how do you want to fix us? How are you going to fix this country called Sierra Leone? What advice are you giving to these farmers so that they can be able to adopt to the reality that, look, rain is going to be little maybe, but how do we fight within this? I mean, what are the solutions, in other words? Back to you, Mr. Kamara. Mr. Kamara, if you can hear me, I'm done with my submission. Back to you. What can we do to fix Sierra Leone food crisis? Then I think Mr. Kamara is frozen. Is frozen. I should go ahead and talk about these issues. Now, I'm very concerned. Why? Because I grew up among the farming communities in Uganda. Why? Because I grew up among the cattle keepers in Uganda. I grew up in what we call the cattle corridor. I'm a cattle keeper. I'm a farmer. My home area is in what they call the cattle corridor of Uganda. Go and research it. I grew up rearing cows. I grew up digging. That's why I'm part of the so-called Balalo, because I grew up in the cattle corridor of Uganda. Now, we never suffered hunger. We would use our animals to mulch our gardens. We use our animal products like cow dung to fertilize our gardens. And we had the best matoke, we had the best cabbages, we had the best tomatoes, we had the best onions. Every time we never lacked food because we knew how to use ditches, how to trap water and use this water during dry season. That's why you could keep our animals safe. What is happening to the people in Africa? Why this new form of laziness? We grew up knowing that land is our survival. We grew up not admiring so much to be in the city. Today, all of you want to run to Kampala, want to run to Freetown, want to run to Nairobi, you want to be there, the so-called good life. Forgetting that all of you must eat every day. I've been always challenging you that even if you were a lawyer, like myself, have a garden. This is what my grandfather told me, that you cannot call yourself a man without a garden where you get your food. It's impossible. Don't start a family without a garden where you're going to get your food. That was my grandfather telling me. I might have made mistakes somewhere along the road, but that was a sound advice. Keep your garden first. Keep your garden first, where you are sure of food. Why do I not over 20% of the people in Sierra Leone go without food completely? And 80% of the Sierra Leoneans have no sufficient food. It's a shame. Why should a country like Sierra Leone import food? Import food. You import rice from where? From Pakistan, from India. It's a shame. It's a shame that countries in Africa must rely on a tribal country like Ukraine fighting a tribal war. And then you must rely on such country to give you fertilizers. Yet I grew up in a situation where you could rely on our own fertilizers. Why do we need to look for the West to give us solutions? We don't need the West to give us solutions on agriculture. We don't need them. We don't need them. We are doing better without them. We are doing better without agriculture subsidies. We are doing better without fertilizers from the West. I told you we used to use urine from our cows, urine from the human beings, ash from the kitchen after cooking. We used to use cow dung. We used to use coffee husks to fertilize our crops, to fertilize our gardens. We used to get banana stems, peel them, and lay them on top of our gardens to preserve water within the soils. Where did our common sense go? How come that we are facing this food crisis today? Why that people are becoming so lazy to depend on technology that does not help them to grow food? Because food is a must, as my grandfather Bassi used to tell me, don't have a family without food. That's why my grandfather used to make me dig on a Sunday. And I've been saying this, even my relatives know it. Even my siblings know it, that my grandfather Bassi made us dig on a Sunday, telling us that we eat every day, we must work every day. Now, if you could make us dig on Sunday, it means it was a way of training us to love agriculture, to love using our own hands to survive. Why should we be facing hunger in Africa when we have these animals with us? When we have rain in Uganda, it's a shame. I'm only happy that Uganda is not on the list, at least of the worst hit. We still have food in Uganda. It would be a shame in my country to be ranked among these countries where people are having hunger, and you look for the East to give you food. You look for Pakistan, you look for India, you look for Ukraine to give you food. Now, this is shameful. Unless experts like Kamara go back on the ground and teach people the basics and teach that every family must have a garden. It's a must. In our tribe, in our tradition, every family had to be with a garden. Had to be with a garden. Today, telling me your garden is in your pocket. That is a lot of nonsense. You're telling me my garden is in my pocket. My friend, if you're in Africa, your garden must be the real garden. If you're in town, Freetown, Kampala, Nairobi, have a garden in the village, send money there every month so that your plantation people are digging and therefore can send food to you in town, or they can sell food and send you money. This is the advice I give to people in Africa. Even if you're in town, please have a garden back home, have a plantation back home where you farm your own food. Once you have your own food, you'll never go wrong. This is the message I want to give. Mr. Kamara, thank you so much for coming back. Back to you, sir. Back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Kato. It has been great lecturing on the part from you from Uganda, and honestly, this is what my organization, Center for Disaster Risk Management and Sustainable Development, has been doing. And in fact, in one of my engagements, I was discussing with government authorities that instead of we begin to say feed Sierra Leone, I think each and every institution, each and every director, ministry, they should all begin to go to farm. For example, if we have the Ministry of Agriculture, it has its own farm to just feed those people in the ministry, that would be good. If we have, for instance, the military personnel to have the military farm just to feed all the soldiers, that would be good. If you also have the police or the Sierra Leone police farm, that would also be fancy. All the churches, the mosques, all these ones should come about to go to farm. I think if we all go agriculture, then issue of food insecurity will be a history. Yeah. Now, for instance, the government has its 5 big game changers. One of them is Feed Salon. That is to say now the government is now prioritizing agriculture, which is very good to have agriculture as a flagship program. But to me, I want to see how it can come from the community. Tell people to begin to go back to backyard garden. If, for instance, you say this week or this quarter, I will not buy maize from no market, it will be good. If you say for entire this month, my family will not buy pepper from any market, that will be good. People need to go back to farm, go back to the backyard garden. Make sure that each and everybody go to farm, grow what you eat what you grow, live fresh, eat fresh. I think that will be fine. That is a very good message, which each and every Sierra Leone, each and every African, not Sierra Leone and Lelo, has to go home with, to ensure that we all begin to go back, not to take the huge portion of land or concession to give it back to these agribusiness investments. No, we have to reserve some land for farming purpose, yeah? So that was my own submission when it comes to the farm aspect. So again, you also talked about traditional way of doing to preserve our seeds, to also look at fertilizer. To me, that was very good in those days. As you rightly mentioned, when we were young coming up, we hardly see our elders, grandparents go to these hybrid seeds. No, they don't do it. For instance, before this time, they used to use the waste of pigs. Pig dungs, they can use it to put it on the soil. Then definitely you can have a natural, grow up crops. But all of these ones, because of technology, because of the hybrid seeds coming out, they'll all be washed away. So to me, I think Africa is still suffering from what I refer to as culturalization. Culturalization is a concept wherein they have washed all of our culture away, and now we are taking on board the Western culture, Western way of practice, which is not good. Yeah. We have a project recently, a particular organization is funding us. I cannot say it. What they did, they bring for us hybrid seeds. And we told them the hybrid seeds, it will not be good. Let us use the locally made seeds. One, utilizing the locally made seeds, it provides employment and job opportunity for even the farmers. 2, the farmers already know these seeds. They know the time they harvest it, they know the time they use it. So the NGO said, no, they can go out and bring the hybrid seed. They put them in tins. Honestly, Kato, we have to use those seeds. To a greater surprise, the seed do not do well. Now the farmers are telling us, I warned you guys that we should go and use our locally breed seed. So these are the things we are saying. Using the hybrids one, using fertilizer, all this one will not help Africa. Africa has to go back to the drawing board. Think Africa, think the Africa want to see how best we can do things in an African way. So to me, I think that's the way. It has to put government on their toes, has to put CSO like the Center for Disaster Risk Management and Sustainable Development on its toes, to ensure that people begin to do things in an African way. Not to emulate the West. What is meant for the West has to be stopped there in the West. We have to come back to Africa to see definitely how best we can do things in our way. But again, we go back to the drawing board. Do we have the necessary support? But I think if we are ready as African, we can do it. For me, that's my submission.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I've loved that submission so much. That's why I was doing this. Whenever I do this, you just know I love the submission, because I'm that revolutionary African. I always do like this, like Thomas Sankara, like the Gaddafi. That's why I do this. Now, honestly, I want to thank you so much. You know, that's the best way to go, my brother. Let me again emphasize this. That's why I love you on these shows, and I'm going to invite you more on these shows, because Africa needs people like you. Africa doesn't need these lawyers, all these useless lawyers. We don't need these lawyers. We need people who are going to help us grow food. We need people who are going to help us grow food like Kamara. Now, I have to emphasize, if you want to kill a people, Mr. Kamara, take away their ability to have their own food. Mr. Kamara, if you want to kill a people, I repeat this, take away their ability to have their own food. And I say this, people say, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. Yes, let them say that. I believe that the best way to destroy Africa is to destroy its food production. And I repeat this, the best way to destroy Africa will start by destroying our food production, because that's where our competitive advantage is. Now, you want to destroy Africa? Destroy our gardens. And systematically, there's a lot of effort to do this in many African countries. Destroy our gardens, destroy our livelihood, make us dependent on importing food. It was never happening in Africa. It's a taboo for Africa to import food. If you want to destroy people, I repeat this for Mambu, I've just joined again, destroy their ability to have their own food. We must fight that. There are companies like Monsanto and others in Africa to destroy Africa, giving us these so-called GMOs, giving us these so-called seeds, a seed that can germinate once and it dies, but it dies after destroying our soil. You give us seeds that are called one-off. In other words, you are better than my friend. You give us seeds that are one-off to kill our soils and to kill our future. We must fight against companies such as Monsanto, companies that give us these poor quality food seeds that destroy the richness of our soils and make us slaves in our own countries, make us dependent on their kind of seeds. We don't need those seeds. We need our indigenous seeds, because you plant it, transplant it, farm it again, plant it again. But a seed which is a GMO, you cannot plant it again. So, Mr. Kamara, I want to thank you so much. There is Alusine Mbogoba. You were saying you were a good man, Mr. Kamara. They are thanking you actually here. They are sending messages. There's someone called Alusine Mbogoba. Hope I've said it very well. Has sent messages to you. Mr. Kamara, I want to get back to you and request you for your conclusion. And I want to say, we are going to bring you back and back and back, because you are the expert on agriculture. We want to find ways to take back Africa to do real farming. Mr. Kamara, back to you.
Honestly, as we are talking about the variety between the hybrid seed and the indigenous seed, could you imagine, even when we also erected our greenhouse to ensure that the heavy rains do not beat on the seed, so that we could nurse them there, they could not still do well. Yeah. Because they were hybrid seed. One, they never did any kind of soil testing to do an assessment of the soil, whether those seeds could be applicable here. We just brought them and we planted them. So even when we planted them, we also constructed the greenhouse, yet they could not do well. So this is telling us that what is meant for Africa is for Africa. What is meant for Europe should not cross the border of Africa. We have to go the African way. So I quite subscribe to that point, that honestly, let's see how we can have a conglomeration of people with the same like mind to ensure that we come back in an African way, begin to do things in an African way. We can have seeds here, definitely locally made seed, indigenous seed, and definitely they can do well. So once that one is being done, then definitely I'm sure productivity is going to be on the increase. If productivity is increased, we can feed ourselves. We can feed our neighbors. We can feed our communities. And once productivity is increased, definitely income is going to increase. And predominantly, if income is increased, for sure we are going to get some savings. So if we can save, then definitely Africa can begin to export. So this is the click.
Thank you so much, sir. I love that. I love this show and I love your submission. The best way for Africa is to have our own food control. We must take back the control of our food production. We must say no to GMOs. People say I'm radical when I talk about GMOs. Yes, I am against them. I'm against companies like Monsanto. Let them stay in Europe. Let them stay in the US. We don't want them in our farms. We can have our own foods. We don't want to have food slavery. Mr. Kamara, what's point I'm making? Food slavery is the heading I'm making here. Food slavery. People are introducing food slavery in Africa. We must resist it. We must tell Africans, look, we used to grow our own food. We can go back to our own ways of having our own food. We don't want hunger in Uganda. I'm happy Uganda is not on the list, but Sierra Leone can still fight this battle. It's going to be an uphill. And uphill us because these companies in Sierra Leone, they want to make you slaves to buy food. Let us resist this. Mr. Kamara, in conclusion, sir, what's your parting shot? What's your parting shot?
Yes, I like this one. This is a new diction for me. Food slavery. I can call it food emancipation. See how we can juxtapose and emancipate ourselves from this slavery. Because this is a kind of Western notion that without us, we cannot eat. As you said, how can the war in Ukraine affect us here in Africa? It's quite ridiculous. If we cannot have our locally made fertilizers, then we have to do it in an African way. But Ukraine cannot snitch there, and we just have to catch the clue here. So I like this one. To me, this is a new diction, and definitely I'm going to add it up to my vocabularies. I like this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I was seen as saying Africa can take care of itself. It has all that it requires. We just have to believe in ourselves. That is Alcine Mbogba from, I think, Sierra Leone. He has been a very active in giving information and saying thank you so much. Yes, food slavery is the new tool they are using against Africa. And I've been saying this, we must fight food slavery. We have our own food, we can maintain that. Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara. The host of the show had problems with the internet, but I'm happy you made it. In fact, you went outside to have the show. Mr. Kamara, we shall have you again in the next show, probably next week when we have time. Thank you so much for keeping it Humans TV Africa. Please keep your hope alive. John Kamara says great extension. Thank you so much. John Kamara sends greetings to you. And everyone actually saying it was a great presentation, Mr. Kamara. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for being part of us. Stay well, stay happy.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I hope to join you guys again.
Thank you so much. See you again.
Thank you. Thank you.